Hi, and welcome to episode 61 of Think Like a Hacker, the podcast about WordPress security and innovation. At WordCamp US, Mark sat down with our friend Dave Ryan from Bluehost. They talked about some of the amazing technologies that are coming online that are helping site owners improve the performance and experience of a website using technologies such as Gridsome, Gatsby, and even some plugins that are making WordPress sites faster. We hope you enjoy.
All right, I am at WordCamp US 2019 in St. Louis, and it has been intense, and I'm sitting here with Dave Ryan, who we chatted to in Newport, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was April this year.
Was it OC?
Yeah, OC.
WordCamp OC?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think when we chatted last, we were chatting about static WordPress.
Yeah.
And you kind of introduced me to it because I was a noob back then, and I think you introduced some of our audience to it as well. And I guess things have evolved a bit since then, and I wanted to kind of check in with you and see, if there's anything new in the space or where things are headed.
There's a lot of exciting things happening in the headless WordPress space. I guess as like a super quick recap, there's like really 2 or 3 different ways of doing headless WordPress. There's the way where you're pulling data out of WordPress to present in a completely different system for your front end. Then there's the style where you're both pulling data out and pushing data back in. And then that third style is you can actually use headless WordPress with WordPress itself. And that was actually a lot of my background, was having one WordPress instance push content to another. And so if you don't want to muck up your code with a lot of user checks, we had a system in one of my old jobs where we didn't want people external to the company to have the same capabilities as people internal. And instead of mucking up our code base, and having a bunch of conditional checks to say, is this person internal or external at every turn, we just decided to put them in an entirely separate WordPress site and then push content that was shaped the same way over into WordPress.
Okay.
So
I guess the thing that I'm wondering about is this becoming usable by mere mortals? I
think it is getting easier. I think that there's a lot of exciting stuff. So Gatsby is probably the largest player in the Jamstack space. They have a booth here at US. They hired Jason Ball in between the last time you and I chatted.
And they raised $15 million in funding, right?
Just raised another round.
Is it another round?
I believe, I can't keep track.
Okay, but I remember it's like 15 million Series A, I think they called it, so maybe they had Angel before that, but that was in September, so definitely capital flowing into the space, right?
They did 3 to 15, and I'm sure, I think they're pretty healthy.
Yeah, so, it certainly sounds that way.
But they hired Jason, and Jason builds the WP GraphQL plugin. Okay. So I know that he has some really exciting integrations for WP GraphQL with Gatsby. So it's going to get easier and easier to pull data out of WordPress into one of these other tools. But I think one of the other really exciting things is that the 2 main advantages of using something like Gatsby or Gridsome to build a site is that Gatsby, when it loads images, it uses a lot of cool image processing tools to make images load super fast. Okay. And images are one of the biggest payloads on almost any web page. And the other thing that Gatsby does is it uses the Intersection Observer API in the web browser to figure out what links are in the viewport and in frame as you're scrolling. And as long as your connection speed is fast enough and you don't have a data saver option turned on, it will prefetch the documents for any internal page on your site, so that you get that really nice user experience of clicking on a link and the page is already there and it just loads instantly.
Okay.
But there's 2 WordPress plugins that are really sort of adding some of those capabilities to a traditional WordPress site.
Yeah.
So Google has a native lazy load image plugin that is very similar to some of the image capabilities you get with Gatsby. And there's a few other plugins out there that use like quick links to basically do that same document prefetching, but with a traditional WordPress site. So there's still some advantages from a developer experience standpoint to using Gatsby or Gridsome, but if you build traditional WordPress themes and you use traditional WordPress themes, WordPress is learning some new tricks. So
yeah, I mean, it sounds like it would be crazy fast. I've been on a couple of sites that are powered by Gatsby, and the experience is almost surreal. You click on something and you kind of have that default thing where you look away or you get into wait mode for at least a second or two, and you don't realize that the new page appeared instantly.
Yeah.
It's almost confusing. It's like, wow, that was too quick.
Right.
You know?
What broke? That was too fast.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
right.
Wait, and I'm still waiting, but it actually immediately loaded. And so from a UX perspective, it's crazy fast. Do you think that Google is building that into their search algorithm as a signal, as a ranking signal, if you have a site that is incredibly responsive, incredibly fast when you're navigating it?
Google is absolutely doubling down on performance. So no matter what tool you build your site in, if your site is fast, it will have a positive impact on your ranking. And no matter what tool you build your site in, because you can build a slow Gatsby site, you can build a fast WordPress site. It's not just that Gatsby is inherently fast or that WordPress is inherently slow. It really does come down to your style of development and how you build a site at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So there's still, how you craft if you're a chef and how you craft your food, it still has an effect on the end product. So, I just think it's a good thing for the WordPress space that we're now basically opening up even more options for using WordPress for really what it's best at, which is producing, content with an A-grade editor and, a powerful ecosystem of plugins, and now a growing ecosystem of blocks. So.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So if for someone who's completely new to static WordPress and to Gatsby, where would be a good place for them to start?
So I have to give a nod to Gatsby. It's gatsbyjs.org.
Okay.
The docs on that site are great, not only for learning Gatsby, but for learning React. And React is such an employable skill. And I think one of the really exciting things is that React now ships with WordPress core. And a lot of JavaScript developers who maybe wouldn't have considered doing WordPress development are now having, a cool fancy thing to play with in WordPress.
Yeah.
And not only is, React shipped with WordPress, but we have all of these custom React hooks that are available in WordPress for interacting with data and creating really powerful experiences. And if I'm a React developer and I don't want to build a CMS from the ground up, or I need something a little bit more powerful than some of the other static site CMS that are out there, I can go to WordPress and I can just add functionality so quickly and then just bake that into my front ends. So,
So do you think Matt's statement of learn JavaScript deeply is becoming more and more relevant?
I think that's an accurate statement. It was accurate then, it's accurate today. I think that there will always be a place for PHP in the WordPress ecosystem. I don't think PHP is going to be going anywhere. But I think one of the really exciting things is a lot of WordPress developers are now learning React and learning JavaScript. And I think that there's a huge value to stretching your brain between two technologies and not only using them both, but learning how to interact with them both and have them tie together.
Oh, I think that's a great idea. I think that's a great point, actually, because I'm somewhat multilingual, and I'm a huge fan of multilingualism and teaching that to kids because it gives you a greater understanding of the differences between languages and helps you understand your own language a bit better. And I think with programming languages, it's the same. I've certainly found that. I came from the Perl world back in the 90s, and I went over to PHP, and I also learned JavaScript and the Node.js flavor of JavaScript and a few other languages along the way, and it's certainly broadened my horizons.
So I think that developers who, adopt that multilingual approach and sort of force themselves to adapt between two ecosystems and two norms and, learn how to do secure PHP and learn how to do secure JavaScript, it's just helping them level up their game. And for a long time, WordPress developers had a generally lower salary than a JavaScript developer or a more full stack developer. And I think that by adding JavaScript in a more deep way to WordPress, that we're really helping the whole ecosystem grow up and level up in skill and create really powerful, really interesting products as a result. So.
Yeah, awesome. So gatsbyjs.org.
Yes.
If folks want to get started with Gatsby. And so I'm again chatting with Dave Ryan at WordCamp US 2019 in St. Louis. And are you going into any other parties tonight?
I'm really excited to go to the premiere of Open tonight. I know you guys have been working really hard on it, and I'm really excited to see how it turns out.
Yeah, I am super excited. I'm a little nervous, and thankfully I've got an amazing team that I'm working with, Hillary and Kathy and so on, that are handling logistics, and I think it's going to be an amazing event, so looking forward to that. Dave, if folks want to follow you on Twitter, what's your Twitter handle?
I am Dave Ryan, but the D is a 0.
Okay.
Finding screen names with Dave Ryan is not so easy.
Yeah.
I'm Dave Ryan with the D is a 0 in most places.
Perfect. So. All right. Well, thanks for chatting with me.
Yeah, it's always great chatting. Good to see you.
Awesome.
We hope you enjoyed this conversation with Dave Ryan from Bluehost about site speed and performance, with Google Chrome telling us that they'll now start alerting site users that sites are slow. Performance is going to be a keyword for web developers and WordPress users throughout the next year. If you'd like to meet Dave live and in person, think about coming to WordCamp Phoenix, February 7th through the 9th. We'll be talking about all kinds of topics related to WordPress, from the community to headless WordPress to security and even SEO. I am one of the organizers of WordCamp Phoenix, and Wordfence will be there as well. And we would love to see you here in the desert in 2020. We'll see you next time.